Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is my review for this amazing documentary on Netflix called Forbidden Games, the Justin Fashanu story. For those who don't know about Justin Fashanu, he was actually one of the best, soccer players that Britain has ever had. I mean, this guy, in his early years was like a force to be reckoned with on the soccer field. But in this documentary, we actually see that Justin Fashanu really had a really turbulent life, and he was openly gay, and he literally, he really pretty much had, a really tough time, dealing with his sexuality, but and also dealing with his career, and also dealing with his family. Because we actually find out early on that his father. I mean, they're both him and his brother, because he had a younger brother named John Fashanu, who's also a famous football player in Great Britain as well. But when they were both of Nigerian descent. Their father abandoned them. They also had older siblings. I think they had an older brother and an older sister. And their mother was a nurse. And their mother was struggling, being a single parent, not having enough income to really care for the boys. So she gave up, Justin and his brother John for adoption. So for a while they were in, foster care, but then they finally got adopted by this like middle class white family in England, and they got like a really good upbringing. But then it was also somewhat of a culture shock for them because I think Justin always yearned for his own family, but being abandoned at an early age definitely has an impact on you. And John Fashanu, his brother, actually talks about in this documentary that he really relied on Justin. Justin was like his mother and his father. He was the only parent that he knew, and the two were thick as thieves. They were. He really looked up to Justin, and them growing up, with this white family in this white village, and they're like the only two black kids there. You definitely knew that had like a major impact on their psyche, but their mother, their birth mother, still had a relationship with them, even though she had gave them up. She still kept up with them, and she still had a relationship with them, and their birth mother was like, she could have asked for them back, but she saw that they had a good upbringing. She saw that they had access to things that she wouldn't have been able to give them. So she let them stay with the family, but she just kept in touch with them. But we can definitely tell that him not having his mom and him not having his father in his life really did affect him. But one thing that happened is that he became a very good active teenager, and he was very good at sports, especially soccer. In Great Britain, soccer's football. But, the great thing about it is that Fashanu literally became an instant success at an early age. I mean, they actually showed the games that he was playing, and he was doing like these really like long kicks and would always get the ball in the net. No matter where he was, he always knew how to kick the ball a certain way where it would get in the net. And, he became an instant sensation. He literally became successful overnight, and money started coming in, notoriety started to build, and John Fashanu talks about once he started to become famous, he began to believe the hype and began to lose his sight on reality, and that began to put a strain on him on the brothers' relationship. So after a while, and then like John definitely had it hard because he had to live under Justin's shadow, because he was also a football player as well, But Justin was he definitely had the it factor, and he was just naturally gifted, so Justin really had the big career, but John always felt, after a while, he began to feel rejected by his brother, and he wanted to be there with his brother and wanted to be a part of it, but Justin was like, I'm here, and you need to get to where I am. So that began to tear up the brothers' close relationship that they had growing up as kids. And also what ends up happening is that now that he's getting money and he's gotten all this fame, he's also, is becoming notorious out here in the streets, mainly with a lot of these, rent boys that he would meet at these gay discos that he would frequent, and he started to get kind of a reputation as being like a playboy. So all of a sudden, all of these stories started to come out about him, frequenting the gay clubs, him buying rent boys, and all of this stuff. And they said that because at one point he did have girlfriends. But they said that he just used the girlfriends, just as a shield, to kind of cover up his gay lifestyle. But eventually, he decides himself that he's going to come out, and pretty much come out the closet publicly. And this even more, put a strain on him and his brother John's relationship, because around this time, John is starting to become known himself and starting to, build a reputation, as a very good football player and becoming a football star in his own right. And due to the fact that Justin decided to come out as gay, at a time where, it was very taboo to be gay, and pretty much the, in the league of sport that he was in. But, Justin, in his mind was also trying to sustain himself, because Justin, I don't think, really had the knowledge, as far as the business side of things. I mean, how to maintain it all, because here it is, he had this big career in his early youth, and I think he was always trying to recapture that fame and notoriety. But then after a while, it started to wane, and some of it began to wane because due to his lifestyle, I think like certain opportunities and certain endorsements that he could have received were not given to him. So him coming out was also another means of making money also. So after he came out, publicly, his brother kind of avoided it for a while, but then eventually he gave this interview where he kind of denounced it and said that he wouldn't want no parts of it, and he wouldn't even. He's saying that personally, like, who you sleep with is your business. Why do you have to put it out there on Front Street? So after that, the brothers' relationship was very even more strained than anything. They barely spoke. But Justin literally, fed into it, and he came out, and in some way it was a great thing, because it actually allowed him to liberate himself. But then, due to the fact of the times he was living in, and due to the situation, it created more problems than it did as far as his liberation. And he pretty much from that point, it was more about the tabloids. It was more about him feeding in some of these scandalous stories, where he was supposedly linked to prominent people, even prominent people like, in the government and everything. And even though some of these stories weren't true, he was eating it up because there was money being paid. Like, he was he was pretty much in need for money because he adapted this lifestyle. And even though his life changed and he wasn't, this big star as he once was, it just goes to show there was this inner drive for acceptance and for love and likability. Even though he had a great upbringing with his foster family, with the adopted family that he had, he always, I think, in the inside of him, he still, yearned for, that love and acceptance that he wanted from his own biological parents. And it actually took him down a different path, where he had, because he was gifted. Like, the boy could play, and he was fine. I mean, he's gorgeous. I mean, him and his brother, they were both very attractive men. But even though he had all of this greatness, he pretty much had what I would define as, self-saboteur, where even though things are going great for you, you find a way to destroy it. That was pretty much the dilemma he had. Like, even though things were going great for him, he will find a way to dismantle it. Because after a while, because of him coming out, a lot of people wouldn't work with him, so he went from team to team. And, after a while, his glory days as a player began to be something of the past. And, throughout all of this, tabloid, scandals that he was involved in, and due to the fact that he was no longer the star player that he once was, money wasn't the same as it was when he became the big star, where he was the $1 million man. So, eventually, him going through all of these different changes, as far as, going from team to team, also due to the fact that money was, and due to the fact that that money, was dwindling, because he had this big, lifestyle, and he also developed these habits that he become accustomed to. He ends up, going to Baltimore to coach. And they said that coaching was one of the things he loved, because he loved working with children, and he loved the sport, of football, aka soccer. So he definitely, took to being a coach and being a teacher. And things were going well for him until one night he has this party at his house, and he has this liaison with this 17-year-old, and later on, the 17-year-old pretty much says that Justin Fashanu had sexually assaulted him at this party. But according to Justin, it was actually consensual sex, but the boy wanted money the next day, and because he wouldn't pay the boy the money, he pretty much put the story out that Justin Fashanu had sexually assaulted him at this party. According to what the boy said, they were at this party, they were drinking, they were having a good time, and then all of a sudden he fell asleep, and then when he fell asleep he was on the couch, but then when he woke, he noticed he was in a bedroom, and he noticed that when he woke up his clothes was off, and Justin was performing oral sex on him while he was sleeping. And this became a really big scandal in Baltimore, because he was actually looking to make Baltimore like his permanent home. Like, he was going to come here to the U.S. and reestablish himself. But then once the scandal happened, that completely turned everything upside down. And eventually he had to stand trial, and he ends up leaving, going from different places around the globe, and he ends up going back to Great Britain, where I think in May of 1998 they found him hanging in a garage, at the age of 37 of an apparent suicide. So it was actually, pretty much the reason why they said he killed himself was due to the fact that he was literally about to be convicted for this crime in the United States, and there was a warrant out for his arrest. And Justin, I think in his mind, felt that because he was gay, he was not going to get a fair trial, so he decided to take his life. But then he was always, I think, was battling with his sexuality as well as battling with who he was as a person. Because people who knew him said that one day he'll be one person and then the next day he'll be totally somebody else. So he had this struggle with defining who he was. And he was always searching for it, but never got any clarity. And his brother John definitely took his death hard because they had been strained for so many years and they never got to reconnect the brotherhood that they once had. So that's something that John Fashanu has to live with the rest of his life. And he definitely shared that, you know, his brother had all these great gifts and great talents, and sadly he just had a bad shake of bad luck as well as bad decision making, which led him down a different path, because he had such greatness and he should have went down the path to be even greater. But sadly, he diminished, and unfortunately, it led to him taking his own life. But this was a really good documentary because it really shows, you know how greatness is in all of us, and if it's fostered and it's developed, it can really open up new territories. But sadly, in Justin Fashanu's case, he had all this greatness, but due to the times he was living in and due to the fact that he was an openly gay man, an openly black African man, you know, this caused a lot of problems, which actually changed his fortunes when it should have made it better, but unfortunately it made it worse. So I definitely suggest you guys check out this documentary. You know, it's definitely a story that you can learn from, as well as someone that should be celebrated, because he had the strength to come out of the closet when a lot of people in sports would have never did what he did. But it just showed that he had courage and he wasn't gonna hide behind closed doors. He was gonna be himself, and unfortunately he paid a price for it. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but definitely check out this documentary on Netflix. I definitely recommend it. So subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will definitely, will be having my eyes and ears open to see of any new things coming out on Netflix that I would love to review. So I definitely enjoyed this documentary, and I definitely suggest you check it out. So until next time, everybody, take care.